You mentioned red pencil, using red pencil and blue pencil.
Yeah.
Why
Right.
both? What is the purpose of the red
Um,
pencil that you don't get
well,
from the blue pencil?
I first started using them when I was at NYU, working on in the animation classes that I took, and I used to use a very thick Prismacolor, the non-photo blue, but the problem is the ink would it'd be sometimes hard to erase. It was hard to erase that, and it's very chunky and hard to work delicately. These days I use gosh, they're Prisma the erasable the erasable blue, light blue, and the red. What is this? Carmine red. This is primarily what I use when I'm setting things up. Sometimes I'll pencil uh, with the blue because it does erase pretty well. The reason I use that is the red pencil. Like a red pencil is like the first thing I'll lay down, and it could be messy, but it's also expressive. I find that I draw much more expressively when I work with the red pencil or the blue. And what happens is the blue, I'll go into. It's basically it's like an extra step, but I'll go in I'll go in on the red pencil with the blue pencil and pick out lines that I think are strong and that I want to keep. And sometimes I can ink over that, but generally I still need to get um, an actual pencil over that and finally pick certain lines. But what it is that when I work in the red and blue pencils, I work very loosely, more scribblier, for scribblier, but I find lines better. And with a pencil, you tend to find if you fuck around with the pencil, it's kind of more permanent. You end up ripping the page apart. Um, the blue pencil and the red pencil allow me to look at differences on the page, so it's almost kind of like I've got like two sets of sketches sometimes, lines that I don't think work, lines that I'm emphasizing, and also sometimes I will use the blue pencil just to emphasize, and then I'll scan it and print it out, and I'll use that as my pencils for light boxing, and then I'll just do a clean pencil over that. I mean, it's funny. The process is kind of like how it depends on the job. If it's something that's super tight that I really need tight penciling and details on because of the nature of the image or the nature of the job or both, I'll go through the whole process. If it's something like if it's milk and cheese, I just go, I just go to it. A lot of fun strips, I'll just go to it and just work it out in pencil and then ink over it. If I fuck up, I'll clean it up. But if I want something exact, I tend to need to, again, walk it into the bullseye. Red pencil, blue pencil, pencil, ink. That's a lot. And if I've got to work fast, I'll probably just do a quick sketch in red or blue. I mean, I just draw more freely. It's hard to explain. Something about it just frees me up. And I think a lot of people, I mean, there are people who use the red and blue pencil. A lot of them seem to they have an animation background where they've just picked it up because now, again, you can learn more about what artists do, look at their technique. But I guess it's an exploratory step, and it's good if you're nervous, you know. But a lot of the drawings I do in colored pencil have more life. I mean, sketches always have more life than inks, even great inks. There's just something about rough sketches. I mean, artists talk about this whole time. They've got a certain immediacy and energy, and inks can take away from that. I mean, there are people who now, like, they'll print their pencils out as blue pencils, so they'll just, I think that they just do finished artist pencils now, but because for the technology, you can just contrast those pencils tighter, and you've got beautiful, detailed ink-like art, and you don't even have to do the inking step. And a lot of stuff you see now, the old thing of, you do these tight or loose pencils, and then somebody does a finishing job in ink or inks over it, and then the colors comes in and just kind of like fills everything in. Nowadays, the colorist is almost doing the inker's job on a lot of that art. inking it, the penciler doesn't even draw in all the tones and lighting and whatnot. They indicate it. There's a lot less tight penciling, it seems to me. I mean, that's not true for a lot of people, but you'll see some things that are like back in the day, the inker would have been like, I don't know what to do with this. Now the inker just kind of like does the contours and the outlines, and the colorist comes in and makes everything pop with textures and fills and lighting, and they make the contours of certain things and lighting effects and glares and things like that. It's very weird. I don't understand, I don't, it's a different way of approaching the page, obviously. But yeah, that's what the red and blue is basically, I guess, just, I feel really comfortable using them. It allows for a lot of mistakes to be made right then and there that you don't have to throw out. You could just work over them. And it eventually gets me to my final pencils, or something that I can print out and light box and then do a very tight pencil over, because my lines have been worked over, picked out, decided upon. And then I'll go in with the pencils because I just don't have the confidence to ink on the light box. I actually have to ink something on the light box straight from pencils, and I'm a little nervous, to be quite honest. I've only done that once, a couple of times before, and I just find it, I just need more confidence as I go along. And these steps certainly cut into your income, but they get me to a piece or a panel or a page that I'm happier with, and that looks better than it would have been if I had just gone in inks over one set of pencils or whatnot. Yeah, there's a lot of fixing up and moving things around that can be done just in the pencil stage without having to print or throw stuff out. It's tiring, but it's the way I work. I mean, there are some people who have really, really uh, busy work ways of doing things. Pete Bagg, I think he draws, he flips it on a light box and then draws over it again to correct all the mistakes you make because everything's skewed a little bit. Even the best artists, if you flip it and look at it on the light box, you will see that thing's slanting, or this is not, and he will redraw it based on that. And I believe he still works that way. And then I'm not sure if there's another step there, I forget. But I mean, there's so many different ways to work. And that's the way I work most of the time.